Hey guys, Big Pimpin' Pokemon here, and today we are back with a new video. Yeah, I know, it's been a while, but hey, at least I'm back. And today, as you might have guessed by the title probably, because you probably read it before you clicked on it, we're gonna do some creepypasta readings. Yeah, it's about to get real scurry up in her. So let's quit talking and get to it. Starting out, Snow on Mount Silver. So my brother and I, we kinda grew up on Pokemon. Around here a lot of kids did. It worked out perfectly for us too. Every time a new gen came out, one of us would get one version, one of us would get the other. And since our mom liked to spoil us, we both got the third one. This is going to sound, at first, like a bittersweet story about two siblings who grow up with a couple of games that eventually take them down two different roads. Well, it's a little more than that. The years rolled by. We kept collecting. Game Boys got old. We replaced them. Cartridges finally gave out. We picked up new copies. But we started down two completely different roads before Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald came out. See, around then, my brother got a Game Shark. We had heard all the hacks and cheats you could do with them. Even if we were kind of late to the party, and they sounded awfully cool. Our first guinea pig cartridge was my brother's old blue version. We just messed around with it a little bit, nothing major. But whatever we did, messed up the game cartridge. After just a couple of code entries, it glitched out completely and became unplayable. Naturally, we were upset at first. My brother mourned the loss of his hours of work, and I was sympathetic. I told him, "It's okay. We can replace it, I guess. Stupid shark was a waste of money." But our paths finally differed. After seeing the mess up it had turned blue version into, I had become opposed to the idea of any hacking or cheating of any of my games. What can I say? I'm a chig. I feel feelings for the little pixel critters. At least with that Game Shark. But my brother, he had taken this game's destruction as a personal challenge or something. I don't think he ever played a game after that which wasn't hacked somehow. Yeah, we played a crap ton of Pokemon, man. But for us, there really wasn't much else to do. We lived way out in the country, without many other kids, and the farmers didn't want us on their property. So, we played Pokemon, out on the lawn, just about all day, every day. It was pretty awesome to us, at least. We got the Game Shark when our rooms got moved around. A new addition was built onto our house, and the Game Shark disappeared in the mess of the stuff that got moved into the closet. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald arrived, and after playing through them once, we were both in agreement that they were definitely lacking in comparison to the last generation. We both tried another honest playthrough, and though we managed to finish, it left us both yearning for some good old-fashioned nostalgia. Where were our old gold, silver, and crystal cartridges, though? It took us probably a month to dig through the boxes. We'd been too lazy to open up before, but we finally found one full of a ton of our old electronics. Old purple Game Boy Color, it still worked. His red one no longer worked because it couldn't hold batteries in place. Both of our Game Boy Advances were fine, along with our snake lights, link cables, that one with the nifty little connector in the middle that I had always wrapped up oh so carefully to avoid fraying the wires and condemning it into the trash like our last cable. We both grabbed up everything we could. It was so nice to have Yellow, which had been my first and most cherished game of any series, not just Pokemon, and Red and Gold were both back in our possession. We went through the motions of checking our old files, taking in all the old memories, and eventually we figured the first gen stuff was just too nostalgic to get rid of. I restarted Gold. He restarted Silver. Immediately, he snatched the Game Shark out of the box and slipped it into the back of his Game Boy Advance. I just shook my head at him. I remember what I said to him. That thing will kill your game, you know. He had never liked me preaching to him about
abusing pixels.
I just shut my mouth after that, but it had put him off from playing with me. I guess it was just one time too many or something. I ought to know how to keep my thoughts to myself, really. A couple of days later, it happened. I was out on the porch, Game Boy in hand, just about to go into the Elite Four, when I realized I needed a little help. My team was ill-balanced thanks to my playing through for leisure, and at the time I was no great trainer that could pull off gimmick runs. I knew that my brother had been 2 badges ahead of me when we had last checked with one another, so I was hoping maybe he'd let me borrow a Pokemon or two, just for this run through though. Now, the thing is that I'd spent the last 24 hours at a friend's house. I'd literally come home, dumped my bag in my room, crept out into the sun with my GBA to play. I had no idea what he'd been up to. For all I knew, he was done with the game and onto a new one, which, I figured, was all the better for me since he wouldn't need those Pokemon and I'd stand a better chance of nicking a few. So I got up, went into the house, and when I was crossing the living room I noticed all of his Pokemon games lying on the floor. Some of the cartridges had been mangled, like they'd been hacked at with something sharp, even his old blue version. Long ago it died, and it was too sentimental to throw away, so he kept it. They were all lying with the plastic cut ragged, split almost halfway up one side completely unusable anymore even if it would have worked. I was a little scared. This had to have happened this morning, otherwise our mom would have seen and they wouldn't be lying on the carpet. I put my Game Boy into my pocket, crept over to his room, and found the door unlocked. Somehow, that was even more concerning. I walked in and found my brother sitting on the edge of his bed. His Game Boy Advance was in pieces on the floor at his feet, smashed to bits. Next to him on the bed was a hammer and our mother's gardening scissors. His face was paler than I'd ever seen it, even whiter than the time we'd gone corning and the old guy up the street, who was legally blind and a raving nutcase, had come and chased us into the trees with a shotgun. It was now I also noticed a game shark on the ground, a silver cartridge poking from the corner under his bed. Somehow, they had spared the wrath of the hammer. "Are you okay?" I asked. I remember the chills that ran through me. He was my little brother. Seeing him like this was horrifying. It was awful. I remember him rasping, and his voice rattled, made my knees weak. Oh God, white everywhere, and then black! I remember running over and hugging him, and I remember his limp arm fell and brushed the Game Boy in my pocket and his sudden scream, right in my ear, making me jump and bite my tongue by accident. He ripped the handheld from my pocket and hurled it at the wall. I cried out at the dent plastic system made there, running over to collect it. The screen had gone dark, and though I feared the worst when I flicked the switch, it powered up normally. I waited there in the corner, trying to pretend the Game Boy Advance mattered enough not to go and run to our mom. The volume was on. The Pokemon theme started up. He screamed again, picking up the hammer. This time I screamed too, and ran from the room with my Game Boy clutched in my chest like a shield. He ended up in the psych ward for 2 days. When we went to visit him, I left my Game Boy at home. No one could figure out what had set off this strange manic behavior. There was some talk that I didn't understand at the time about some kind of disorder he may or may not have had. But even though Mom and I had collected and brought in all the cut up cartridges to be looked at, that was my mom's idea, not mine. No one had even thought to tie it back to the game. Maybe that was my fault. Well guys, that was part 1 for the Creepypasta readings. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Part 2 is going to be coming out tomorrow, so look forward to that. Talk to you guys later. Peace.